So should you be a freelancer or should you get a full-time job as a developer? And this is a question that I've had a couple times from people in my comments and whatnot. And I wanted to provide some context on this question. For context on myself, I have been running a development company for the past 3 years now. I've freelanced before. I've been offered full-time jobs. And there are pros and cons. And everybody has their place. There is a place for full-time. There's a place for freelancing. It is not one size fits all answer. But I want to shed some light on some important considerations most people don't think about. When you are full-time, you get paid less per hour in order to have more stability. You don't need to worry about whether you get paid the next month because your employer has basically your back. But because your employer takes on that risk for you of making sure you have work every month, you pay a slight premium of your salary per hour to him. And that stability is very worthwhile because, man, can I tell you, the headache of not knowing when your next contract comes in is a lot, especially when you have a life to sustain. If you live with your parents and, you're in university, then I think freelancing usually makes more sense, right? Because you can essentially maximize your kind of hourly value as much as possible. And you can change that per project. One project you start at 20, then you do 25, then 30, 35, 40, whatever. You keep going up from there. If you have costs that you need to sustain, if you need to support any kind of family or family members or friends or whatever, then you need stability more than you need that one little extra premium, right? You need the stability and then you find the next job that's a little bit higher. And it's effectively a question of whether you want stability more so than hourly jobs. If you're a freelancer as well, you have to take into consideration where you are going to get your clients from and whether you can sustain a regular lead flow. Because if you cannot do that, you will be basically having to be worried about doing marketing and lead generation as well as fulfillment. And that becomes very stressful very quickly. And so what you typically want is to find some kind of regularly long-term clients that keep coming back to you. But getting those long-term clients to start off with can be very, very challenging. Whether you do one path or another, at the end of the day, I think it depends on what your goals are. In terms of quality of life, being a full-time person can usually be better, especially in the kind of earlier term. And I say this because you have better relationships usually if you're at a company where you like the people that you work with, you get to see those and make friends and things like that. Whereas if you're a contractor, man, you're moving from one job to another and it can be very lonely as well. And if you don't have a group of people that you share that with, you are basically constantly by yourself. And that's very lonely as well. And people don't think about that. If you have a great social life outside of work, then, that works. But working with people whose company you enjoy makes a massive difference in your overall enjoyment as a person through your daily life, right? Working is how we spend the majority of our human lives. And so doing that with people that we like makes a massive difference. So personally, I think a full-time job actually is a pretty great quality of life. And a contractor's role is also, you can maximize your earnings per hour, but usually you also want to optimize for some kind of long-term contracts and things like that, because long-term contracts means less headache in terms of stability for you, because you know that they should be paying every month, right? And also you will probably see the same people again and again. And so it feels like a full-time role. I will also say, as a contractor, you're more open to international roles. So you can get remote jobs and things like that, and get paid effectively as full-time people and get the benefits of that. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both. Let me know if you have any other questions. Do comment. I make videos every day, so I will read those. And that's actually why I made this video, because a lot of people, there was one guy who was commenting, he had some internship and he doesn't know whether he should do full-time jobs or get straight into freelancing. And it totally depends. I think a full-time job gets you a pretty good quality of life because you have stability, and as long as you have a good boss and good friends, that's great. But contracting, I think, can open up some very cool opportunities because it forces you to branch out and get to know a lot of people. And then once you want to move into something more stable, then moving into a full-time, I think, makes sense. That's my 2 cents on it. If you want to build an agency, I would say freelancing is better, because you have to practice getting clients, doing a better job, whatever. And then when you get enough clients, you can start hiring other people. That's how you build a business, basically. So if you want to ultimately build a business, yes, go ahead and start as a freelancer, keep going that way. But otherwise, I think full-time employment gives you some really great quality of life.